Hi, welcome back to my channel. What I'm going to be doing is making a Tim Holtz inspired junk journal. Today we're going to be making the cover, and I just have this We Are Memory Keepers chipboard. You can use cereal boxes if you want to make your journal cover with, or whatever you wanted. I thought that I would use this, and I just have my little mat here on my table that it has different sizes for different journals or cards. It's sort of helpful. But I found this Tim Holtz paper that I love so much. It's the Wildflower paper. Doesn't he have gorgeous items to choose from? But we're going to be using this today to make the cover with. So right now I'm looking for the page that I want for my front cover. Now most of these actually would be beautiful, but I want something that I can put on the right side of my junk journal. So a lot of these have a lot of the embellishments on the left side. That's why I'm not using them. They would be gorgeous. That one would be really pretty as well. Okay, this is the one that I've decided that I will use for my front for my book cover, really, for my junk journal on the cover. So I'm tearing that out, and now I'm looking at it, and I want my junk journal cover to be, like I said, I want those butterflies on the right and the flowers on the back. And I thought that inside of that paper would be really pretty too. Now I'll link all my dimensions in the description box below. Unfortunately, I can't put any clickable links in this right now because this channel is new. You may know me from the Magnolia Housewife, but I've recently started this channel because we all love and miss my paper craft. So I thought journals and cards would be a fun thing to do. So I'm just putting this down on there. Leaving, I believe it was like about, I think I left like a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch between them. And I'm figuring out what I want, and then I'm going to get my tape and fix the entire journal. This is very easy to do. All right, now I'm placing my spine and the front and the back of the journal where I want them, and I'm measuring to make sure that I have the same amount. Now you do have to leave enough room in there so that the journal will close. If you make that space between your spine and your front and back cover too small, then it's not going to close and it may actually tear your paper. So just make sure that you leave enough. I believe I left a 1/4 of an inch, and I'm making sure that it's equal all the way down there and on both sides. Next, what I'm doing is getting some low tack washi tape. This is just from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put it on where the front and back cover meets the spine to hold it together until I can get my packing tape to secure the front and back cover to that spine. All right, now what I'm doing is setting the book cover to the side, and now I'm getting my paper and I'm going to cut it to fit the front and the back. Remember, I want the butterflies on the front and the flowers on the back. So I'm measuring my cover to see how large it is, and you're going to have to leave some extra so that you can miter your corners and then fold everything in on the inside. Okay, now I can give you the measurements for the chipboard that I cut. It's 5.5 by 6 1/4, and I'm going to cut my paper at 7.5 by 12, and that's what I'm doing now. All right, now that our paper's cut, I'm going to show you how to apply it to the cover of your book. It's really easy. This is my first junk journal that I had ever done, and I think it turned out pretty well, so don't be afraid. I'm just putting it on there because I have to leave enough room to miter the corners of my edges, okay? So I'm going to measure exactly where that spine is and make sure everything is nice and even down through there between the front and back cover and the spine so that it will close nicely. Okay, now I'm getting this packing tape. I picked this up at the U-Haul. You can see how much you get, and it's very inexpensive. This will last you quite a while, and it makes your book very secure. So I'm cutting off the amount that I need, and I'm just going to lay it across the spine and let it connect to the front and back cover. Then I'm going to flip the book over. You can see there, it's just coming right down through there. And I'm going to flip it back over and then cut the excess off with a pair of scissors. Now, Teflon scissors would be great right here. I didn't have any, and I still don't, and I need to get some. So now what I want to do is I'm going to make sure that that is well adhered to the book. All right, what you want to do is start making sure that your front and back cover is going to close because we just put that packing tape on there. So I'm taking my little scraper tool from my Cricut and I'm just burnishing that down really well. And you can also start getting your bone folder and putting it down in there and start making sure that it's going to close. But I just started gently closing it and making sure that that spine is still very pliable. Now I left about a little over 1/4 of an inch when I did that. No, I didn't. I left a little over 1/8 of an inch, and I would recommend that you leave a little over 1/4 of an inch, and then it will make the book close much better. So now that I've made sure that that packing tape is down in there and the book will close, now I'm seeing exactly how I want my paper on there. I'm trying to make sure that it's as straight as possible all the way around on both sides, top and bottom. Then I'm going to flip the book over. I think that's going to make a gorgeous little junk journal. And you can put a ruler underneath there and that will help you stay straighter. Now for adhesive, I'm just using this tape right here. And now that I have done several little books, I would recommend the art glitter glue. You can definitely use this tape. It worked quite nicely, but the art glitter glue gives you, I buy it on Amazon, it gives you a little wiggle room. It will move while it's still wet. You know, you can kind of slide it around. Once it's dry, it's not going anywhere. It dries completely clear. The only thing is if you purchase it, and it really isn't a problem now because it's pretty much hot everywhere in the US, but you have to order it while it is still warm. They will not ship it to you during cold weather. And it doesn't have glitter in it. I'm not sure why they call it art glitter glue, but it is really fantastic. It has no odor and it's very low VOC, so I appreciate that. So I'm just putting a lot of this tape on my book all the way around the edges, down the middle, down the middle, and then I put it around the spine. You can see I'm really covering it quite nicely to make sure that it adheres. And then I'm using the Beacon Fabri-Tac. Now this is good glue, but it does have an odor, I think. Now it really bonds great. It will bond anything great, but I was pretty sick about 2 years ago, so different scents like this really bother me. That's why I found the art glitter glue. But like I said, it's great and you can use it if you want. I believe I picked this up at Hobby Lobby or I picked it up at Joann's. I'm not sure, but I think it was Hobby Lobby. And Walmart might even sell it. I don't know, but it will hold your junk journal book cover together very nicely. All right, now I'm also going down on the inside of the spine, and then I'm putting even more on the inside where I had that tape because I don't want my cover to go anywhere. And it's still here, and I made this book about a year ago, and it's even been in a drawer with other stuff, so I'm surprised that it survived, but it did quite well. Okay, so always put your tops back on your glue so they don't dry out on you. Now we're just going, we have all that nice glue on there, and I'm going to make sure that I have my paper the correct way I want it. I'm going to turn my book upside down, and I'm placing this to where I can try to make sure that I get this straight and even. Now, like I said, hindsight, I would have put a ruler under there because you can see I have a little bit more room on the bottom than the top, and it worked out okay, but I would recommend using a ruler and cutting it a little, your paper a little wider than I did. But like I said, this was my first journal that I had ever done. Then I'm just using my scraper tool and I'm adhering that on there very nicely, and it definitely bonds quite well. And I'm going over the spine and the inside cover on the outside, and like you see, I flipped it over and I worked on the inside. And really just rub it in. Be careful though, don't punch a hole in your paper. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to start mitering the corners. Now you can also use, which I have started doing with my other books, score tape that you get off of Amazon. What you want to do is go close to that edge, but not as close as I did, and just cut it. I would leave a little bit more room. Like I said, it was my first book. I would leave like maybe 1/4 of an inch from the end and cut it there because I cut mine a little too close there. But now we're going to miter our corners and cut it a little close on that one. And you don't have to make 2 cuts. You can just do 1 over through there. All right, since our paper is on to our cover, now what I'm going to be doing is taking my bone folder and going down through there very easily, not as hard as I did. I didn't go through, but to tell you the truth, it's probably a miracle. Just go down through there slow and steady and gentle and build it up. And you can also start closing the book gently and then do the bone folder as well. Now I have one corner that I didn't miter the corner to, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now we're going to start. Now what you can also do is get score tape in this area, but I didn't do that for this one, I don't believe. So I'm just using my bone folder to go right all the way around, and then take your bone folder and put it behind it as you're lifting up, and that helps break down the fibers of the paper and helps it to make a really nice fold for you so that you can miter your edges of your book. And that's what we're doing here. You want to go all the way around and do that. And just make sure that they fold nicely because you don't want to have any breakage or tears in your paper. And if you do this, you should be just fine. All right, now that we have our paper conditioned, is what I call it, all the way around, I'm putting some more tape there. Now what I now do is I use score tape along where I'm putting the tape, and then I also use the art glitter glue. But in this instance, I just use the tape all the way around the book so that when I fold my papers in, it will adhere. Now, you also want to put it on the paper as well, all the way around, so you're getting a nice adhesion. But like I said, I now use score tape and art glitter glue, and it's very secure. Now this has held together, like I said, in over a year, even put in a drawer, so with other items. So once you get your tape on there like you want it, then what you want to do is get your bone folder and start folding it in and pressing and pushing, and that will adhere that nicely, okay? And you're just going to go, now make sure you don't have any glue on your bone folder. You're going to do your sides first, and then I come along and I start doing the bottom and the middle. Just keep, now see, here you can see I needed more length. The sides were fine, but the top and the bottom, I was a little stingy when I cut my paper. So I'm applying some more glue there. If you cut your paper wider, then you won't have that problem when it comes to the top. But I managed to get mine done and it's fine. All right, this is the cover. I have everything on the outside. Now I'm going to flip it over. Like I said, you need to give you more to put at the top and the bottom than I did. My sides are great. Top and bottom wasn't so great. Okay, now I'm looking for the paper that matches that so that I can put it on the inside. And I'm just flipping through there to find it. Then once I find it, I'm going to cut it out and put it in there. All right, so what I decided to do is just use the back side of the one that I used for the front side. And I'm just measuring to see what I need to cover that inside with. And like I said earlier, my inside was 10 5/8 wide by 6 1/4, the inside of the book. And so I'm just going to cut my paper, and I'm not sure what I cut it at. Let's see if I can see. Looks like I cut it at 10. By a little over 5 1/2. And now I'm just going to cut that paper out. All right, we've cut our paper. We have a little piece left over that you can always use scraps for something. And now I'm going to measure and make sure, once again, that I have the correct dimensions, and I'm going to cut it the other way. By the way, since then I have bought a new paper trimmer that I absolutely love. So it is, I can't remember the name of it, but if you want to see this video and hear everything in its entirety, it is over on the Magnolia Housewife channel in my playlist for junk journals. Okay, now I'm just seeing how this is going to match up on the inside, and it looks like it's going to match up pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little corner rounder that I got off of Amazon. And once I get more established with this channel, I'll be able to link things, but right now, unfortunately, I can't. On the Magnolia Housewife channel, everything that I used in here is linked. Okay, so I've rounded my corners. And that's my little trash can. I keep everything in. Picked it up at the Dollar Tree. It's so cute and very convenient just to put little pieces in. All right, so now you can see that looks much more finished. I like that. And you can see that top is giving me a little bit of problems where I didn't cut it quite long, make it long enough. Now I'm going to put my tape on my paper. Well, it looks like I decided to put it, maybe I'm going to put it on the paper since the book, I'm going to have to kind of fudge it just a little bit. So I'm putting the tape on the paper. Make sure you put it all around. I hope you get some good ideas for junk journals and card making on this channel. And I also am going to be doing art journals and these interactive books that you can put photos in, or you can just leave sitting out during the holidays. I think it's so much fun. Now I'm just adding also this Scotch glue. I would go in with art glitter glue, but I was trying to reinforce that spine. Mine is still fine, but like I said, that was when I was really a newbie at doing all this. Okay, and then we're just going to put this down there. Now that top is a little bothersome, but it worked out okay. Now we got to make sure that it's adhered nicely, which it is. We're going to take our bone folder and rub over that. Doesn't that make such a pretty little junk journal cover? I just think this is so easy. And then we're going to flip it over, make sure everything is good. And then we want to start making sure that the cover is going to fold. So I'm cleaning all my glue off my bone folder. At this point, you can start slowly trying to close that cover ever so gently. And you can also, now I'm measuring to try to see where my spine actually is. It's a good thing to remember. You can usually feel where it is, but if you measure, you remember where it was, then you can start using that bone folder and coming down through there, and then start gently folding it, and it will fold. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, you just keep using your bone folder, go back and forth very easily, and then try to close the book, and then just play with it very easily. It just takes a little bit of time. Now, had I used the other glue that I've been talking about, I think that it would have adhered even better, but you just keep working on it and keep smoothing everything out. And there's our cover. It's made. I think it is so pretty. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll be making the entire junk journal, and then I have other journals that I'm going to bring over from my other channel, and then we're going to be doing new journals, new card making, new art journals. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps me out on YouTube, and I would love it if you would subscribe. So until next time, bye guys.